In 2009, a power company in Georgia made a promise. It would build 2 new nuclear reactors for about $14 billion. What it actually delivered, 15 years later, cost more than $30 billion, more than double the promise. It became the most expensive power plant ever built in the United States, and here is the twist that makes it sting. The people who pay for it are not the company that blew the budget. They are ordinary families who never got a vote, and who are now quietly covering the overrun on their monthly electric bill. Start with the gap because it is enormous. The original price tag for the 2 new reactors, known as Vogtle Units 3 and 4, was around $14 billion. That was the number used to win approval. The final cost, by the company's own accounting, was more than $30 billion. Add the payout from the bankrupt contractor, and the real spend passes $34 billion. A few outside trackers push the all-in figure as high as 37, but that one comes from estimators, not official filings, so treat it as the outer edge. Either way, the honest answer is somewhere north of $30 billion, more than double what was promised. It was not just over budget, it was staggeringly late. The first reactor was supposed to be running by 2016. It did not start commercial operation until 2023. The second was due in 2017. It came online in 2024. That is about 7 years behind schedule on a project that took roughly 15 years from groundbreaking to finish. For all of that, the country did get something real. 2 brand new reactors, a little over 2,200 megawatts of clean power, the first reactors built from scratch on American soil in more than 30 years. The question was never whether they work, it is what they cost to get there. Now for the part that reads like a disaster movie. Halfway through building it, the company in charge of construction went bankrupt. Westinghouse, the firm designing and building the reactors, filed for bankruptcy in 2017, buried under the very overruns it was creating. Its parent company, Toshiba, paid the plant's owners about $3.7 billion just to walk away. And that payout is not even inside the $30 billion construction figure. Add it in, and the true spend passes $34 billion. A nuclear plant so troubled it bankrupted the company building it. And here is the part that should make you furious. In Georgia, customers did not start paying when the reactors switched on. For more than a decade before that, they were already paying a special construction charge on every monthly bill. Roughly $3.5 billion in financing, handed over for a power plant that was producing nothing at all. Several states banned that practice outright. Georgia allowed it, so you paid for 10 years for electricity that did not yet exist. And when the reactors finally switched on, the bill still did not stop. The state's utility regulators approved a deal that pushed about $7.5 billion of the overrun straight onto customers. For a typical household, that meant roughly $14 more a month, an increase of about 10%, locked in for years. The mistakes were made at the top. The bill, every single month, landed at the bottom. So what did Vogtle really cost? Forget the $14 billion brochure. The honest answer is more than $30 billion, and past 34 once you count the bankrupt contractor's payout, for 2 reactors that arrived about 7 years late. That is more than double the original promise on the most expensive power plant in American history. And the bill did not land on the people who built it. It landed in small monthly pieces, on the families who flip a light switch and never knew their power came with a 15-year, multi-billion-dollar overrun attached. Here is the comparison that makes the number land. Georgia Power's own share of this project ran to about $10.5 billion against a promise of roughly $6. But the cleaner lesson is the one next door. The exact same kind of reactors were being built at the same time in South Carolina. That project ran so far over budget it was abandoned, never finished, with customers there left paying billions for 2 reactors that produce nothing. Vogtle is the one that survived. It only looks like a success because the alternative was paying that much and getting no power plant at all. So was it worth it? That depends on who you ask. The country got 2 reactors that will run for decades and produce power without carbon, and that genuinely matters. But the way it was paid for is the real story. A $14 billion promise that became a $30 billion bill 7 years late with a bankrupt contractor in the middle and the overrun quietly transferred onto ordinary customers. So is it worth it? For the clean power, maybe. For the families who never got a vote and pay $14 more every month, absolutely not. The lights came on. They just cost more than double what anyone was told. Next, we look at the most spectacular budget blowout in building history. A concert hall that went 14 times over budget and opened a full decade late, and somehow became the most beloved building on its continent. What the Sydney Opera House really cost. Every figure you just saw is traced to a named source, listed in full in the description below.